This episode of the Offered Podcast is sponsored by Warren Medical Gear Outfitters and Colby Valve.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 406, Recovery Stories with Andy.
Tonight, Aaron gets some new shoes, Coy gets salty, and Ben gets some dates.
Oh, it's on the wrong speakers. Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, interview people in the off-road industry. Your hosts tonight are Aaron, Coy, my name is Ben, and joining us tonight once again is Andy from Warren. So, Coy, I'm curious about why you're so salty, man.
I went to the beach, man. Went to Seaside and did all the touristy stuff and realized that now for my family of 4, 2 adults and 2 children, if you want to get sit-down food, it's like $80 if you go to a touristy place. Inflation's hitting these coastal cities hard. I literally just went to some place that was called like the Krabby Oyster or something, and we got burgers, one appetizer, kids meals, nothing special. It was like $78.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
No fish and sticks or any of that?
I got like a
Did you
halibut
say
burger or something,
fish and sticks?
That's a real cheap one. Fish and just
I
a bunch
think-
of sticks.
I thought he said fish and sticks. Yeah, fish and sticks.
Yeah, no, fish and chips. That's what
Okay.
fish sticks. I like to go to the beach and then just get some Gordon's
Fish
fish
sticks.
sticks. Yeah.
Straight from the microwave to you.
I mean, that's usually what like the kids want, is something silly like that instead of like fish and chips.
It's always mac and cheese. Mac and cheese.
Oh my goodness, kids, you gotta love them. Never having any, I swear.
Yeah.
What about you, Aaron? Anything good?
So I think I mentioned that I got that flat tire in my wife's truck a couple weeks ago. We got new tires on her truck. We could have held out through the summer, but I wanted to make sure we had good tires because we're going to be towing the trailer several times this summer. So I want to make sure we had good tires, not going to explode. So I got some Falcon Wild Peak AT3Ws.
Nice.
33s for her F-150. The factory size was 31 point something, so we went up 1.5 sizes or so. I think it looks appropriate. It's a good tire size on there. I asked my wife how she liked them, and she's like, well, they throw a lot of gravel. We live a mile down a gravel road, and I drove it, and I did definitely notice that it is throwing gravel where her Michelin street tires weren't throwing any gravel at all. But
Keeps the tailgaters away.
there you go. If they can catch up. But a big benefit is that these have the 3-peak snowflake rating on them, which is a big deal to us because we will travel over passes and stuff in the winter. And we currently actually don't even have any chains for that truck. Although now that it has 33s, the old chains for my Nissan they fit a 33. So I guess I have chains now. I had to buy tires that fit my chains. How about that? So I got some tires on there, and then I pulled the winch bumper off of my truck to do some quote unquote winch maintenance. I'm having trouble with my winch. It's not responding to the controller at all, and I have a feeling it's the extension that I homebrewed for my winch. Andy, plug your ears right now. I cut the wires, extended them probably 16 inches so that I could have a remote spot to plug in the remote. Otherwise, I would have had to. I don't even think I could have plugged it in because of how buried it is inside the ARB bumper. So I made a remote location for it, and I just think that they've been rubbed and bounced enough that they aren't working. I took a electrical testing meter and confirmed that some of the wires aren't fully sending power through it. So we'll see.
Yeah. That's what you should have done. I mean, I'm just saying, like, Warm 98348, which is the winch remote extension. So just so you know.
I found out about that about a year after I installed that bad boy. And I was like, well, that would have sure made things a whole lot easier. So,
came
so
up
there's
with the
that.
idea. I was like, why didn't you just buy another remote, plug it in, run the wire we want, cut it, use any connector that would, wire it in. Oh, it's just a thought.
Eh.
Oh,
Alan, Alan, that hurts, Alan. For that, we're not reading your story. Alan says a low voltage electrician wouldn't have made that mistake. So, I wasn't an electrician when I made these modifications, Alan. I was a lumber guy. So there. And Eric says this is a coincidence that Aaron's talking about winch issues while Andy's on. Don't fall for it, Andy. He wants a new one. I'm not asking for a new.
I'm keen to you. I'm keen to you.
I'm not asking for a new winch.
Good thing.
Zing. So that's what I've been up to. I can't put it back together yet because I did buy. So it's literally the winch is packaged in the bumper. And then I have these wires that leave there and go to the plug-in dongle area. And if I ever had to take one or two of those things apart, it's completely hardwired. I can't separate that dongle without chopping the wire. So I bought a 5-pin automotive harness connection so that if I ever have to pull something apart, I can take it apart without having to do something silly. So that'll be showing up later this week, and I didn't have time early this week to put it back together anyway, so I'll have that weatherproof automotive plug to put things back together the right way, and I'm going to do a super nice job. Alan, if you're interested in coming over and showing me the proper way to do it, let me know.
What motivated you to finally fix this winch issue? I mean, it's been
well, I've got a trip coming up in July, and I just got to get it done before then.
Okay.
So, yeah, I got to get it done. You just got to get it's pre-trip maintenance.
Well, I didn't know if you had a
coming up
trip like
3
next
months.
weekend or like Sunday or Saturday. It's
No, I'm going to a wedding on Saturday. So, working on the chicken coop in the morning, going to a wedding in the afternoon on Saturday.
different kind of winch.
Hey now, Mary's a nice lady. Yeah, so that's what I've been up to. And I gotta say, I also picked up a door for my shop, a man door. So now I got to get that installed.
Person door.
Person door.
Was
Yeah.
waiting for it.
They're called man doors because they're man sized. Okay, it's not a garage door; it's a man door for men to go through, for people to go through, not just men. But I bought the door for my shop finally, so I'm going to get that installed soon. And I gotta say, it is really nice being able to work in my shop with it mostly sealed up. So that's good. Now I got to start organizing it, building it out, sheeting the walls, building some countertops, doing all the electrical, just the quick, easy stuff. So, Ben, what have you been up to?
I have been busy with a bunch of family stuff, but I did get a nice garage update today. I got some dates for materials. They're delivering all the materials next, was it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday,
Whoa.
Thursday, and Friday. 3 different deliveries.
Awesome.
So
Okay.
that should be, I'm hoping that that's a sign that they may move me forward again.
That'd be
Because
great.
it's nice because they're supposed to start building 2 days before I'm supposed to take off for Montana for the kids' summer camp, and that might mean I don't go to Montana, which I mean wouldn't be a terrible thing because I just work on the shop. But I also kind of want to go camp on Flathead.
Are you supposed to help them build it?
No, but it feels weird having people on my property and no one there.
Oh, okay.
Something happens.
Gotcha. Well,
I'm
they're
sure there's
professionals.
people on that property without you there before.
Yeah, it's really awkward. Yeah, it almost feels like you're violated somehow.
Josh says go through sideways or straight on. I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about. Maybe the man door, but
Yeah.
straight on. It's a 36-inch wide door. You do go through the side of my shop. You don't go straight on into the shop, though.
I would have to walk through that sideways.
No, it is a normal size door. It's a 36-inch wide door.
Yeah, I have to go through those sideways. The elbows,
Oh, it's I see. How about you, Andy? Have you done anything off-road related the past couple weeks?
Oh, let's
Or
see.
you got
what-
anything off-road related coming up?
Yeah. Be leaving for Overland Expo West next week, and we'll be down there for several days. Got the Overland Expo West in Flagstaff, Arizona, is 19th through the 21st of May. So, got to fix a leaky pinion seal on the vehicle, the van, tomorrow. Get that taken care of. Just did some pre-inspection stuff, making sure that everything is good, so don't run into brake problems like I did on the way to Moab. And then I had to fix the sliding door. There was a handle had broke on that. Fix that. What else? I just got back from visiting some family in Wisconsin, but a lot of road tripping, not a lot of off-road tripping. And then just got a busy summer coming up with a lot of shows, a lot of events. Was at Jeep Safari last month, which was great, and did a lot of off-roading there. In my Mitsubishi Pajero, we invaded Jeep Safari with that. And then always when you got 3 old vehicles, there's always something to do. So I have to do the pinion seal on my another car too, another vehicle too, and I also got to replace and bring in the radiator off of my 92 Mitsubishi Pajero. It's a brass and copper radiator, and I don't think it's flowing real well because it keeps overheating. I've troubleshot everything down to, I think, the radiator, so I need to get it flow tested, and might have to have it desoldered and recored. And it ain't cheap, but it's rebuildable. It's a good radiator, assuming it flows right. So.
Well, it's nice that it's at least recorable versus having to go out and buy a whole new one.
I'll tell you what, I had never really watched or looked into how they recore radiators, and there's a couple of videos online, and I'll tell you what, on YouTube, and it's like an art form, man. There's this guy, and you can tell this guy's a veteran at doing this. He's got a torch in one hand with an open flame, and he's like desoldering it, and this is like bath of antifreeze and all this stuff. But it was pretty impressive what they do to recore a radiator. So I mean, I'm used to basically pulling out a plastic radiator, throwing it away, and putting in a new one. So
I was just talking to my buddy who's the guy getting married this weekend, Christian, and a guy came into his shop, and he has I don't know what year it is, but it's a Jeep truck like Ben's Jeep truck, but it has a Chevy 350 conversion. And apparently this was a popular conversion back in the day, and his radiator has gone out, but this radiator is not available anymore. You can't get this radiator, and apparently the inlet and outlet are in unnormal areas. So he has to go get that thing sent out as well. So yeah, kind of interesting. I had no idea they made the 350 swaps for those.
There's a handful of custom radiator places too. I know of one in Tacoma.
Yep. I told Andy about that place, and I told my buddy about that place as well. So I guess they had it sent off to a place in Salem. So
nice.
We'll find out how that goes for them. We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
And this is the May Patch of the Month, and I thought it was very, very well done. It's a memorial style with a couple rifles, some helmets, and it says, "It is foolish and wrong to mourn men who have died, rather than we should thank God that such men lived." And it's a Quote by George S. Patton.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I showed it to my kids and talked to them a little bit about it, about how we should be thankful for people who have been heroes for
Definitely.
our countries. I didn't go all libertarian though and be like, well, some of these wars we shouldn't have been fighting, but that's for another day.
And then also our patches are $13 shipped here in the US for one, 10 for any additional, and $10 picked up from us in person. Just shoot us a message through any of your channels and we can hook you up for the with the PayPal info on that. And it's the Off-Road Podcast patch and the Lumen Locker patch, which the Lumen Locker does glow in the dark, just like it would light up if you were to hit it on your dash.
Coy, I don't think those glasses are helping. You're still blurry.
There.
Yeah, I don't
Have tire troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you covered. Ever have a valve stem leak? Colby Valve makes reusable and easily replaceable valve stems that don't require you to remove your tire from the wheel. They work with your off-road rig, ATV, side-by-side, commuter vehicle, or even your tractor. Never be left stranded again because of a busted valve stem. They also have a tire repair kit for those punctures that keep you away from doing your favorite thing, wheeling. Make sure to check out colbyvalve.com or ask for them at your local off-road products store.
So our first story here is from hotcars.com. And apparently we've got a leak of the 2024 Tacoma.
It's already leaking.
It's already actually, so it's a picture grab from a video or something that's like just a frame or two is what they're saying. The leaked photos with theories ranging from it's a TRD Pro or it's a Trail Hunter. It may drop with a V6 they may drop the V6 and go for the turbo inline 4-cylinder, which is what I believe they put in the Tundra. And then it's confirmed to have the manual option, and then it's the actual reveal date is May 19th.
I don't know if you can get the Turbo 4 in the Tundra, but I heard rumor that that hybrid turbo V6 or whatever it is that the Tundra has could go into the Tacoma.
There we go. That's what it is. Is they have the turbo V6, and so there's lots of theories on what's going to go in the Tacoma. So, but we'll know May 19th, which is what is that? Next Friday. So on the 22nd, we'll probably be talking about it.
Andy, I think it was last week when we had Mercedes on, we did an article about a teaser for the Toyota Stout possibly coming out as a competition for the Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know that's not this week's story, but I know you are into things that are more obscure and smaller.
This is true.
Do you have any thoughts on the Stout if it was a thing?
I think that it would be a great option for Toyota. I think that this is a segment that people are flocking to. The Maverick, they can't keep them in stock. You can't find one. They don't take orders for them anymore. I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. I think the other one I recently drove was the Hyundai Santa Cruz, which was also a lot of fun. Actually, way more fun than I had any idea it would be. And I keep hearing rumors about the Toyota Stout. I saw some far-fetched rumor, and I guarantee that's all it was, about Subaru bringing the Brat back. And I mean, boy, that would make sense. They had the Baja that was a bit ahead of its time, considering. Yeah. So I've heard Mitsubishi is going to have a small truck. Ram's going to have a small truck. It wouldn't surprise me, but I think it's a growing segment for, we're not talking rock crawlers. We're not talking anything like that. We're talking about practical, fairly efficient utilitarian vehicles that are also kind of fun to drive. I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
that little Hyundai Santa Cruz that I drove, with 200 and some horsepower in the dirt, that thing was a blast. Like it's like a little rally car, and it also handled really well on the pavement. So
Yeah. As newer cars tend to do, have more horsepower and have better suspension.
right.
Yeah. Well, we're all, I don't know if we're all in agreement, but I'm in agreement. I think that we could definitely bring more vehicles to that segment. And I think everybody would benefit, including the environment. People don't need to drive in big gasser trucks.
Most of the
And,
people that drive big gasser trucks would be
Yeah.
better benefited by having something like
Yeah,
a small
absolutely.
truck, like a Maverick or whatnot, so they can do truck
Yeah.
stuff, but
Yep.
have a car economy.
All right. Well, our next story is some total hypothetical stuff here. So there's some, well, maybe it's not hypothetical if there's actual speculation, but there's some speculation that Ford may Raptorify the
No. It's a speculative story, so there's zero like
somebody got the idea somewhere, so there's some sort of speculation on something. But Ford may Raptorify the Explorer, or at least that's the speculation, and that's the regular Explorer. Well, I don't know how regular that is, but
That's the Timberline edition.
and it's got Chinese writing on the back corner.
I was gonna say,
actually.
what does that say?
So they are made in China. The Explorers are built in China.
Well, maybe the Chinese ones are built in China. I can't imagine that the U.S. ones are built in China. But yeah, there's speculation that they may Raptorify that. Last week we talked about a Raptorified Mustang. They're just going to Raptor all the things, I guess. It says the Timberland edition gives a good feel for what it possibly could bring for the Explorer, which is not a body-on-frame vehicle. And it just also, there's hardly anything in these types of articles, but it also mentions that Ford is venturing into the off-road / soft-road market more and more. So I say bring it on. Let's do it.
Yeah, why not? It
Even
looks
if it's
good.
just a 1 year, if it's a 1 year limited edition, that's fine.
Right.
I think it'd be cool.
I hope they do it like Dodge did with the Hellcat Durangos. Be like, we're only making 1,200, so pre-order,
Yeah.
and then make 1,200. Be like, wow, we've sold so many so fast. We're gonna make 10,000 more, and then
Yep,
those 1,200
And-
get a class action lawsuit going.
exactly.
That's so bad. I know. It's crazy.
That's the news.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
So I want to start this off by saying thank you to everyone who wrote in and shared your stories, because without you, this episode wouldn't be happening. And getting stuck is half the fun. If you're embarrassed by getting stuck, don't, because that's half the fun. That's why we go off road. You don't necessarily go off road to get stuck, but that's part of the adventure, the journey. And going out there, getting stuck, learning how to recover yourself. That's why we bring the tools, because the more chances you have of getting stuck means you're less likely to run into more people, right? And so, I mean, that's part of the fun. So thanks to you all who shared your stories.
So
And-
what we're gonna do here is we've got these stories. We're gonna read through them, and then at the end, Ben has some custom dice that he's printed. He keeps talking about these dice, so we're gonna use these dice to roll for a winner, and then we'll announce you here. Hopefully, you're listening to the show and you'll hear it in the next couple weeks. If we don't hear from you either we're going to reach out to you or we're going to roll that dice again. We'll see. So hopefully listen to the show, but we'll probably end up reaching out to you.
I mean, really not listening to this episode, you're rolling the dice, you know.
Ooh, yes. Nice, Coy. Nice. Why don't you kick it off, Coy, with the first one?
So our first one is Corey H. My worst stuck story takes place about 16 years ago. I just started dating a girl who is now my wife. My best friend was dating her best friend, and I had a 1998 Jeep ZJ with a 2-inch lift and 31-inch tires. Not a huge
Wow,
build.
she's still with you even though you owned a ZJ. That's awesome. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Carry on, Coy. Carry on.
Not a huge build, as I was 20 years old and dumb. I thought I could go anywhere. After a night out on a double date, we piled into the Jeep named Betty and decided to do some night wheeling on forest roads in the Hoosier National Forest. It was mid-December, and we received some snow a few days previously that had melted, making a muddy mess of the terrain. We reached a deep rut, which some people had clearly been bypassing. I hesitated, but my friend gave me the old gun it, we can make it, and away we went. He now claims that he meant to take the bypass, but I still don't believe him, and that wouldn't have been the tread lightly thing to do anyways. We promptly stuck to the frame on the passenger side with only a come along to help us. It didn't take long for us to realize we weren't getting out without help. Without cell service, we hiked to a ridge and promptly called my friend's younger brother to come help. This is where the story gets better. His ZR2 S10 was unknowingly having an issue with the 4-wheel drive and was not engaging, leaving him in 2-wheel drive to get to us. He made it about halfway to us before getting stuck. He hiked to us and he let us know about the unfortunate news. Come morning, we hiked to cell service again and called a friend to pick us up. We went home, got shovels and chains, and let the girl's parents know what happened, apologizing for being out all night. They were very forgiving, so I think they could tell we had already had a big enough mess. After some food and getting a friend to buy us a 6-pack of beer for Liquid Courage, we headed back out to work on getting the vehicles unstuck. We were able to get to the S10 and headed home. We were able to get to the S10 out and headed home, but I could not get my Jeep. Finally, after being stuck for around 36 hours, some other Jeeps came through. They informed us that they were stuck in the same mud hole a week before and were part of the reason it was so rutted out. They pulled us out, gave us a couple more beers, and sent us on our way home. Hang on, I got to scroll down here. I found out after getting home that it cracked my transfer case. It was a bad time when it happened. But now is one of my favorite stories of my younger years. My wife and I now love taking our kids off-roading and camping, and I'm an admin for an overlanding group called Indie Overlanders. I've included a picture. This was from a disposable camera, so the quality isn't up to today's cell phone standards.
Do we have the picture?
We're gonna have to go back and get it. We're gonna have to go back and get it. I forgot
Okay.
about.
Was that
I
night?
uploaded words, but that was Corey H. That's pretty epic, and I love that you got pulled out, Corey. I love that you got pulled out by the same Jeeps that created the massive.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's fun. I'm curious how you cracked your transfer case. If it was from flexing or if you whacked something while you're in there. So you'll have to reach out and let us know.
And here it is.
He used the transfer case and they're disposable, so
Yeah. Yeah, that looks like Koi's camera when he's in focus.
yeah, looks like my web camera.
Oh, I love that you mentioned that it was a disposable camera too. That's awesome.
I mean, that really sets the time frame, right?
Yeah, not a lot of people know what a disposable camera is.
Hang on, pull that picture back
nowadays.
up. Did he edit the front plate to just say Jeep, or
I'm sure. I don't.
How do
I
you
don't
edit
know,
a disposable camera picture? Anyways,
He might live in one of those awesome states where they don't require a front plate.
I'm guessing that he scanned the photo on one of those flatbed scanners that half of the world had back in 2002. And then he used Microsoft Paint to write the words Jeep in there.
I hope he made a little tiny paper license plate, set it on that picture, and then took a picture of that picture.
Epic. It's my youth.
The
Reliving my
original
youth.
Photoshop.
I've been there and done
Construction
that
paper.
before.
The shop rag
Yeah.
over the plate.
Yeah. All right. I've got this next story here. It is from Trevor G. He says, years ago, I was with my dad's Land Rover group in the Olympic National Forest area, back when you could actually drive around and not be blocked by the gates on every road. We were down by the Skokomish River, and there were these super deep, rutted out mud holes that the Land Rovers would get swallowed in. My dad's buddy dropped his 1968 Land Rover Series 2A88 into one of the holes and got wedged between the entry and exit. So it kind of sounds like those hot tubs that you see in Moab. That must have been quite the dip if a Series 2 could get stuck in something like that.
Sounds like a tank trap.
Yeah. Front bumper dug in to the exit and the rear bumper dropped off on the entry. There was zero forward or backward movement. The entry and exit to the hole was so steep we couldn't even winch the rig out normally. My dad handed me a tree saver and had me climb to the tree in front of the stuck Land Rover and connected his winch to it, probably 10 feet up the tree. After that, someone climbed the tree behind the stuck rig and used a tree saver and a snatch block running up the other winch line from another rig to the back of the bumper, again, probably 10 feet up. They coordinated the winches and lifted the stuck rig up and above the mud hole. Once it was high enough, guys got on each side and swung the Land Rover like a swing. Each time it would swing over higher ground, the winches would let out some line out of their rigs, and the rig finally landed on dry ground to the side of the mud hole. Not sure what winch the guy was using, but my dad had his trusty old Warn 8274 on his Land Rover. Probably the coolest recovery I've ever seen in my 40 years of off-roading so far.
That is wild. I'm picturing this thing moving like a hammock or a swing side by side. Like, I mean, it's just 4,000 pounds swinging through the air, but that's wild.
Yeah.
I am not calling our listeners a liar, but I'm not saying they made it up. I'm saying they made it really good.
That's quite the story.
If you winch a vehicle in the air like that, it would just flip upside down or onto its side. Like I'm not a winch expert.
Maybe it has a low center of gravity that it doesn't roll.
Yep. Well, our next story here is it was a comment through Facebook, or no, not through
YouTube.
And it said, this is from Sarah P. She says, I tried adventuring out on some trails when I first got my Gladiator and an OHV park, and it didn't go that well and had to be covered. Since then, I have not hit the trails in fear. And I tried to get more of the story, and that's all I got. But that's the recovery story.
Well, Ben, I'd say you're an admin of Lady Toyotas, right?
No, not an admin.
Or something.
I'm just in the group.
Ambassador.
No.
Ambassador.
Just saying, you could invite her, but then tell her she can't because she has a Gladiator.
There we go.
That's funny.
All right. So next story here is from Josh S. He says, many years ago, my buddy and I were out wheeling at some local trails here in Ohio. At the time, I had a Kia Borrego that was LS swapped and solid axle swap front and rear. Frankly, I'd like to see this vehicle being into oddball vehicles. Anyways, it had a Dana 30 front and a GM 7.5 rear. The perfect set of toothpick axles for an LS swap. It had a set of 31-inch China mud terrains, a front lunchbox locker, bump steer like you wouldn't believe, and enough redneck engineering to terrify anyone who saw it. In invincible mind at the time, it was absolutely unstoppable. My buddy with me had a quote built Jeep Liberty that was actually just stock with some AT tires, but in our minds, it was a Jeep, and therefore it too was unstoppable. We went out to our local trails and noticed there was a large section of land covered in tall reeds, aka a swamp, that didn't have a single trail on it. Not sure why that was, but our professionally engineered death traps would easily be able to forge ahead and make a new trail. We plowed into the reeds and seemed to be making good progress. The reeds were dangerously close to jabbing right through our radiators, but that was no concern to us. We were adventuring. Needless to say, the adventuring came to a quick halt when the earth decided to open up and we sank up to the frames. Reluctantly bewildered that my Kia actually got stuck, even with the front locker, we pulled out the trusty Harbor Freight winch. You had to make me read this one. Trusty Harbor Freight winch and started searching for the nearest tree to winch to. Sadly, that tree was conveniently about 100 yards away. Linking every piece of rope we had together, we managed to reach the tree and started dragging our way out 1 foot at a time. Over the next couple hours, against the laws of off-roading, that Harbor Freight winch managed to pull my Kia almost 300 feet through the deep peanut butter mud. Without it even resting for more than 1 minute or two between resetting the rope, it then pulled my buddy's Jeep all the way through the muck and saved both of us one heck of a towing bill. In the end, it was a great day, even though we only covered about 1,000 feet. And then the Harbor Freight winch caught on fire, and I never bought another one again. So, okay, I made that part up. But anyway, having the warn guy read Harbor Freight winch stuff. Anyway.
There's your picture, Andy.
Wow. I am legitimately impressed. I have never seen... I mean, when was the last time anybody even saw a stock Kia Borrego? But that is...
correct.
That is...
I think they were only 2 years. Maybe they were 3 years.
Yeah, I don't know. They always look like big Subaru Foresters to me, but that is legitimately impressive.
No, this next picture really makes it impressive.
Ooh, flexing.
Look at that flex.
That's good flex.
Good flex.
I like that the snorkel, it looks like those J-Max super expensive Australian ones that are all custom aluminum bent tube and stuff. I would have just got the sticker. All right. The next story is from Eric E. And then my camera. Oh, now it's back. Okay. I was very excited to join my first off-roading / overlanding trip. I packed up my 2-wheel drive Jeep Liberty and started heading out into for the Green Mountain Fire Lookout in Christmas Valley, Oregon.
I got to real quick. I got to mention that's 2 Jeep Liberties.
I know.
That have come up in our stories. and the Kia.
And one Kia Borrego.
What in the world is going on? Okay.
Well, I mean, the best stories probably come from maybe not the best off-roading vehicles, you know.
Love it.
This started heading to the Green Mountain Fire Lookout in Christmas Valley, Oregon, with an arrival time of about 6 p.m. Somehow I made great time and got off pavement over an hour early and headed up to the lookout. When I got there, I found out that I made such good time, even the guys who were supposed to be there before me hadn't arrived. I explored a little and noticed the camping options were pretty bad, but I wasn't going to complain. For some reason, I started getting nervous that I had possibly gone to the wrong location and decided to call one of the guys. Since I was out of cell service, I drove back to the pavement. When I called, I could hear the guys talking in the background as I spoke to Aaron. It was then that I discovered there was more than one Green Mountain Fire Lookout in Oregon, and the one Google took me to was close to the coast.
He got Googled.
Just so people know, Christmas Valley is like almost dead center of the state. As I was being reminded that Christmas Valley was in the middle of the state, with the rage meter in my brain started to rise. This was not the first time I had been Googled while trying to travel. I calculated the drive time, and I was now going to arrive around 10 p.m., I believe. I decided to really open up the old 2.8 liter 4-cylinder and see what I could do. I think I shaved 20 minutes off the drive time going through the Oregon Outback. As I entered town, I didn't consider the fact that I was once again following Google. I passed a left turn on a paved road that I could see turn to gravel, and it looked like fall directly to my destination on the map. Instead, I just had to follow the blue line about a quarter mile to the next left and another quarter mile to the left on a dirt road. In case you're following along, yes, I am now heading right back to the road I considered turning on in the first place. And don't try to give me any credit for not noticing this on the map. I did, but still decided to take this route regardless. No big deal, though. I've had this little car on a legit Jeep trail in Southern Oregon before with the racing stripes and three-wheel motion to prove it. Time to keep going. What I didn't know is the road had spots that looked like dry dirt. When you hit them, you'd fall into a small mud pit. It was fun until I hit a big one where I dug the front end pretty bad. And after some tire spin, I only got to scroll down here. Now my computer's freezing up nicely. Good. There we go. After some tire spin, I hit reverse and tried to back out. Then I went for it with the left-right turns and rocking forward to back. No go. I decided to get out and find some traction. My undercarriage was almost touching. I sunk to the tops of my shoes when I stepped out. My rage meter is now redlining. I just tried discarded lumber, sage branches, and a full sage bush. Everything sunk into the mud. It was finally time to make one last call of shame for help. I decided to start walking the last 2 miles so I could cool off. By the time Aaron and Jeremy, I think, found me, I had walked about a mile and was too tired to be angry. I had to ride Secret Service back because of the gear in the rig. Aaron did his best to hit every puddle and mud pit down my air quotes road, which was hilarious. You would think this would be the end of the story. No. When we looked for a recovery point to drag my car out of the mud, there weren't any. Well, at least I gave someone an excuse to actually use rather than display their traction boards. After the last ego-killing part of having to reminded to release my parking brake after driving out of the mud, with all of that happening, I still had the best first-time experience on a real trip as a passenger. Now I'm hooked. And yes, Rick, I still owe you a car wash.
That's always a fun story, and I appreciate Eric for swallowing his pride and writing into us with that one. And that does go to show you that Max Tracks can and do work, because he pulled himself out on those Max Tracks with his rear e-brake engaged, dragging his back tires through the mud the whole way. So Max Tracks do add traction for the haters out there.
I like how you're like strumming up the most expensive traction aid in front of the winch guy. Like, hey.
Well, we tried the winch. We were planning on the winch first, as you can hear, but there were no recovery points on this Jeep. I'm air quotes for the people just listening to the audio. So as Coy flails his arms around wildly. All right. Here's our next story comes from Ran. It says a vehicle got stuck on a Thursday afternoon, spent the night in the Jeep, and then walked 16 miles in the snow, encountering a cougar on the way back to get cell service. First recovery attempts was on a Friday. That attempt by the owner's son and a friend failed. Saturday, another group tried to make it to the vehicle but could not. Sunday morning, Kevin Moore and I were dispatched. So I'm assuming that Ran isn't the person who got the vehicle stuck. We got to the vehicle and decided to try to winch it backwards. We knew it would be a hard pull, so we connected both vehicles to each other. The plan failed. We were being dragged towards the vehicle. So we moved to plan B, which was to lift each of the front wheels, shovel snow underneath them, then put traction boards on top, lower the vehicle back down, and try winching backwards again. That plan worked like a charm, and we were soon all turned around and headed back to civilization. That really sucks. A 16-mile walk
in the snow, being pursued by cougars.
I'm not interested in that. Well, maybe they harnessed the cougar and rode a mud flap and like a sled on the way back. But I mean, that's rough.
As thick as a rope. So,
how many Jeep Liberties were in this story?
All I know is that it is a Jeep.
Okay, this one's just a Jeep, so we're not sure if it's a
It's-
Liberty. Okay.
Correct. So I guess we could pretend it is.
Well, our next story here is from David, and he says, "Since my Jeep is still in the driveway and not off road or any road, in fact, I have no real story yet. All I have is my imagination, and that is getting a call to come up there and help pull Ben out of a ditch, one that y'all can't accomplish."
Thanks for writing into us, David, and throwing Ben under the bus. We appreciate you.
Or into a ditch.
I would
All
right.
really
Josh says
say
it.
that's
All right, so the next one here is from Kenny M. On a spring day last year, we took an ATV trip to Brown's Camp. It was a great ride, and as the sun was about to begin setting, we had reached the end of our trail ride. But in the last 100 feet before turning towards the trucks and trailers, my buddy's tie rod popped off. Worst part is that gravity was working against us. After having listened to the ideas of taking a pair of shoelaces and tying the front tires to each other so they could be steered together, who cares about shocks, A-arms, and a frame, and me trying not to roll on the ground laughing, a man and his crew rolled up. He hands me a ratchet strap, and I put it to work. We rode the 14 or so miles back to our rigs, loaded, and I went to return the kind man's ratchet strap. He did say black Dodge or black Ford. Well, there is only one black Chevy rig in the quarry parking lot. I pray it was the black he said. Left the ratchet strap. I left a $25 Panda Express card and was so grateful for the loan. We made it home safe and easy.
I honestly hope that it wasn't the right truck and this dude's just wildly confused. Like, well, I guess I have a ratchet strap and I'm eating a Panda Express now.
That's true. Yeah. Oh man, that's a fun story. I would like to hear who received those. So anybody out there with a black Chevy that visits Brown Camp and got a mystery card, right into us. That'd be great.
All right. We got Theo M. What's going on, fellas? Every time I listen, I hear you guys say for us to write about a time we did a recovery or got recovered, and this story will be about a time I went wheeling, air quotes, for the first time and got horribly stuck. I was 19 and I live in Arizona, Phoenix area, so we don't have too much of anything. My girlfriend at the time lived in the, and I don't know if this has been auto-corrected or not, but Pine 2 Sholo area. Hopefully that's somewhere in Arizona. So that was a 4-hour drive from me, and I was picking her up to stay with me for a week before school started for us. Well, let me tell you, Google Maps did me dirty. Literally. I'm also
yes.
seeing a theme
Thank
with
you,
the-
Google. Thank you,
the
Google.
Googling. This was around October, so it was nice and cold with a bit of wet and frost in the mountains, but that will not stop me. Mind you, I had a 2014 Dodge Challenger at the time, so you know how well this ends. I was following the maps, and at the final miles, it told me to go down this dirt road. My girlfriend, now wife, said it was tough to get to her town because she lived on the reservation, and I didn't even stop to think to call her. I just went for it. I was sliding and spinning out the whole way down the dirt road until I got to the bottom. When I was down the bottom of the ravine, Google said I had arrived, but the only place I had arrived at was a ditch. Looking up the name of her town, it had the word river in it. And well, that's where Google just wanted to take me. I spent 3 hours trying to do anything to get out with no cell service and only 1 more hour of daylight. Thank God a rancher was looking for his horses because he instead found a 19-year-old kid stuck in a ditch, covered in mud, who couldn't shut up as to why he got stuck. For true love, as why he got stuck for true love. 4 years later, I wised up and got a 2012 Nissan Titan Pro X and have not gotten stuck. I don't know if that's wised up, but we'll let it slide. I only do light trials when my friends get stuck. I'm the only one they call. I don't have any gear. We use a chain, and I would love to have an opportunity to win that sweet Warren recovery bag. I hope this makes you guys laugh, and I hope I get picked. Have fun wheeling, and God bless America.
There is a
I-
disproportionate amount of Mopar vehicles in these stories. Have we noticed this?
I was about to point out what Josh is saying here. Apparently, ladies, if you can just go get your boyfriend stuck really bad and be stuck all night with them, it's some kind of bonding thing with males because they then marry that gal.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to hook yourself a man, go wheeling with him and
Yeah,
get him
Go
stuck.
wheeling with them when you see a big mud hole, just yell and push on the wheel so
So
it dives
good.
in
Like-
there.
Steer towards the mud, honey. It'll be fun. Yeah. All right. Number 10, Sam M wrote into us, and we just got this story this morning. And we got one even after that. So the next one after that we got this afternoon. So at the end of the clock, these two squeaked in. So Sam writes into us and says the recovery story I'm choosing to share goes way back when I was 16 in a 94 hard body. I chose the story because I learned so much from this experience after my eyes were open to how important it is to be prepared for anything, especially when going to a remote location solo. From the beginning, this was my first time my dad allowed me to take our little 12-foot boat out to go fishing by myself. Left well before dawn, dragged the little boat a couple of hours to a small reservoir in north central Montana called McChesney. I think that's a country singer, Kenny McChesney. It's a small body of water. Yeah, it's a wish.com country singer. It's a small body of water, not very popular, no boat ramp or any services, but offered good pike fishing opportunities. Ben is Googling it right now because he wants to go check it out. The reservoir is in a fairly remote location.
How'd you know?
Because I could see you highlighting the words. It's a fairly remote location. Close to cell phone service is about 40 miles away. It was early spring, just after ice off the lake, so the ground was still frozen when I arrived at sunrise. I backed down the frozen bank, launched the boat with no issues. Never crossed my 16-year-old mind that the ground wouldn't stay frozen when the sun came out. Didn't see another vehicle all day. Had a great time fishing and driving the boat around my own private lake. A little afternoon, I figured it was time to head home, beached the boat behind the trailer and the truck, and stepped off. By that time, I had warmed up substantially. The muddy bank was no longer frozen. I sunk into the mud pond past my knee, where I had previously been able to stand with no issues. At this point, I was a little nervous, but still didn't realize how stuck I was about to be. Hooked up the cable, winched up the boat, fighting the mud the whole way, stumbling knee deep in the mud the entire time. Once the boat was tied down, it was time to head out. Hopped in the truck and thought to myself, here goes nothing. Started it up and put it into 4-low, which attaboy for just absolutely starting in 4-low rather than starting in 2-wheel or 4-high. I slowly let off the clutch and realized that my wheels were just spinning in the mud. I started to panic and gunned the throttle, but sank deeper and deeper into the soft pond mud. As my panic grew, I'm sure I said every curse word my 16-year-old brain had at its disposal. Due to my inexperience, I continued to spin my wheels and sunk myself to the point where I couldn't even open the driver's side door. Usually that happens in the snow, not in the mud. So kudos to you for absolutely sending it, leaving me no other choice but to crawl out the window. At this point, I was completely panicking. Eventually, I started to calm down. I paced back and forth through the mud and began taking in my surroundings. Noticed a large pile of gravel on the side of the main road about 75 yards away. Even though I was inexperienced, I was at least smart enough to realize it was a traction issue. I ended up using the lid from my cooler to dig out trenches in front of all 4 tires. Then I made 40 trips up and down the road using my cooler to transport the gravel. This whole process was painfully slow as well as hard on my hands. Eventually, I was able to transfer enough gravel under my tires that I gained some forward momentum. With much mudslinging, I finally crept my front wheels on the rockier ground above, and the tires finally bit in. Once I got all the way up on the main gravel, I shut the truck off, closed my eyes for a minute. One of the most relieving moments I can remember. I share this story not because it was the most stuck I've ever been, nor the most technical recovery I've ever been part of, but I think it is one of the biggest learning experiences I have ever had. Let's just say I haven't left home without a shovel since. My 16-year-old self had never heard the Warren slogan, "Go prepared." I wasn't carrying a shovel, extra food, water, or even a tow strap. Today, I'm guilty of carrying too much gear, but I live by the saying, better to have and not need than need and not have, especially when venturing into remote areas solo. I follow that mantra too. I bring too much gear, which usually
Same.
bogs me down, and I have to get recovered.
Yeah, and that's
There's
one
a
of those-
fine line there.
And that's one of those stories too that I think we all have those early on stories where we either got super stuck or we helped somebody the first time you help somebody who is super stuck, and they may not be the most challenging or technical, but it's that one you always remember.
Yep.
He probably got totally ripped making a whole bunch of trips up there. He's probably like He-Man after that. So
Carrying coolers of gravel.
I believe this is the Sarah P from the comments or that messaged us. Sarah, I need to hear more of this recovery.
Yeah,
And
Sarah, if you're the one with the gladiator, let us know.
we need to hear more recovery. All right. This is our last story here, and it's from Alan. I mean, this story was what, an hour before the show came in started?
I think it was 2.5 hours before the show started, but yes, it was real
Yes.
close.
So he says this is a very abbreviated version of the story. But last month I drove 700 miles round trip, towing my wheeler in an enclosed trailer at a 6.5 miles per gallon to recover a stuck Subaru in the middle of the Heart Mountain Refuge. He was shacked up in an Airbnb in a plush for 5 days. No one local had a wheeler that thought they could do it. The local tow companies didn't know if or when they could get to it. So I drove over there, stay overnight in Paisley, arrive in Plush at 8 a.m. the next morning so we can get out and before the afternoon thaw. We drove up there and park the trailer in the gravel pit. We had a plan to drive out there in the freeze, wait for it to thaw, to get the car, which is frozen in the ground, out, then wait for it to freeze again so we can get the 2 miles out without destroying the road. The refuge manager sees us parked out and first comes unglued because we were parked in the gravel pit. Mind you, the gate was open and there was no sign saying no parking. Wow. There was no sign saying no public entry. Then proceeds to tell us it's too late in the day and we have to wait until 2 a.m. the next morning. It's 25 degrees at this point. Everything is frozen solid. After a brief and maybe a little tense at times discussion, we have no choice but to wait. We sit around for 18 hours, catch a brief nap, head out there in the middle of the night, and in the meantime, it's warmed up and the road is a muddy mess. We get to the car. It's still frozen in. We spend 3 hours digging in the ice and rock with a pickaxe, using a high lift, jacking up and pulling with my winch to get it out without tearing the car in half. I managed to pull the winch. I managed to pull the winch out too far at one point and had to use Gorilla Tape thick to reattach it to the spool. It was so frozen in that it eventually took high lifting off each wheel and stacking rocks so we could get the wheels to kind of spin. After getting it out and pickaxing the ice out of the wheels so they could spin freely, we took and headed out the 2 miles back out of the mud road to the gravel and to the trailer. He took off back to Plush where his girlfriend was waiting with no update. I went and slept in my trailer and headed home later that day. All in, I traveled 830 miles with a detour on the way home to one of my favorite hot springs. I was gone for 52 hours total. It was an awesome adventure, met some great people, and one very grumpy refuge manager.
Well, that guy definitely gets the farthest travel award. My God,
Yeah.
that's some dedication. Like one that helps him out for 832 miles and 52 hours to pull a stuck Subaru out of a mountain refuge, Heart Mountain Refuge. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't realize you could get into Heart Mountain this time of the year. So I guess you can get in, you just can't get out.
Yeah, apparently. And look at the high lift there on the fender on the
Yeah. Wow.
Yikes.
That
one got me.
Eric, this was for a random person in need. He is asking if it was for a friend or a random person. Because this was posted on a local like off-road recovery page. And this guy went out and got him.
Yeah.
That looks like some thick mug.
Yeah. That's it.
So Sarah replied that she had a very stock Gladiator Sport S. Didn't know about airing down or figured I have a 4x4 for the first time. I can do anything, sadly. No, that wasn't the case. Mud is not my friend.
Yeah, mud is about what got everybody in every one of these situations. So yeah.
Yep. It's your best friend.
We're an hour in. Do you guys think we can tell stories quick enough, or do we want to just roll the dice and find a winner?
I got a shorty that I can
Okay.
spit
Yeah.
about, but I don't know how long your guys' stories are.
I can always keep mine brief.
Andy, you got one?
Yeah.
All right, you do it, man. You're the guest.
Right. Yeah. Right. So the worst stuck I have personally been was actually just this October. I was on the 4-wheeler overland adventure in my 99 horsepower turbo diesel Mitsubishi. And we were in some very, very, very soft, hot sand outside of 29 Palms in California. I was pulling a trailer and we came to a sand dune hill. And I remember the guy in front of me in a very big sportsmobile, he was having problems getting up. And I thought to myself, I got one shot at this because I'm not backing down it with a trailer. And anyway, I got really stuck in the sand. And, then people trying to get past me to act as an anchor, they got stuck going up the hill. Anyway, eventually I ended up double line pulling my Warren Xeon 8S off of a snatch block off the back of a Tacoma, and my engine got hot and all that stuff. And we got some awesome footage and some great photos, which is great when you work for a winch company, but super, super stuck. Took everything I had to get out of that one.
Wow. And I mean, it's just sand up a hill, right?
I mean, sand, the photo behind me is of that recovery, and that sand was so soft. And again, when the guy going past you for the anchor can't make it up, it's going to be a hard recovery.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want to back down with a trailer.
Yeah, that's beyond my skill set. Thank you.
Yeah.
Coy,
you said you got a quick one?
Yeah, I got a quick one. This wasn't the worst stuck I've been, but it was one of my earliest, maybe one of my first stucks. I had an 81 Toyota mini truck 4x4, had 33-inch Pro Comp X Terrain tires. So I thought I was, ready for anything. And one Thanksgiving day, I decided to, me, a buddy, and his girlfriend all get in the cab of this truck. It was a tight squeeze. And go up to the snow. We're going to go play in the snow in this local wheeling spot. I had zero gear, essentially. So I go out to the barn, look at my dad's shovels, and I think it's snow. I'll get my dad's $40 aluminum grain shovel that he had bought for sawdust or something. So I get this big, a grain shovel. It's like a snow shovel, really wide. It was aluminum. We go up to the snow, and I aired down a little bit because I didn't know much. I dropped it down to like 20 PSI, thought I was good. We went up, played around, come back. I slid into a ditch a little bit, and it was open diffs. So I'm stuck. And we kind of stick some sticks under the tires and stuff. And then I standing there and I'm looking at this grain shovel and I think I can just stick, almost contoured the tire. So I just stick the edge of it under there. It worked great. Used better than a Max Track, probably much cheaper, but It popped me right out of the ditch, and I go to grab my shovel, and it is it just bent perfect with the tires. Just completely, there's no flat bottom. It's a full circle. Yeah, that aluminum soft. I went home. My dad lost his mind that I bit his $40 grade shovel. I could still hear, that was a $40 grade shovel. Lost his mind over it. And then me and all my brothers referred to it as the traction shovel after that. So to this day, we still talk to my dad about the traction shovel.
Oh, it's so good.
That's a great story. So you carry a grain shovel everywhere with you go where you go now, or?
Oh, well, I carry 4 now. I mean,
Yeah,
they're $40 each. That's way cheaper than the 4 traction board.
There you go. There you go. Have you did you cut notches in the end of it like the Crazy Beaver shovel, or have you painted it a fun color, or what do you do?
I got a powder coat buddy, so yeah, we did like a
there you go.
holographic sparkle midnight purple.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Gold flake.
That'll look awesome on the roof rack.
All right, I'll try to make this one quick. So a lot of our listeners know that I had a LMTV military 2.5 ton vehicle for a while. And that thing was pretty awesome. It was also pretty awesome at getting stuck. So open differentials and 18,000 pounds. So you start to lose traction, you're pretty much done. I was goofing off on the farm, and we've got this slice of property on the other side of the road where we were at the time. I don't think we had built the motorcycle track there yet, and there was a swampy section, and there was brush and small trees between 6 foot and probably 16 feet tall in this swampy area, and it just butted up against the gravel road that leads to our house, a county road, and I could just kind of work my way through it, and then you just kind of bump up against the road bank and pop up onto the road. And it's a blind corner, so you can't go fast and just kind of explode out of the brush, because that's literally what you're doing is you're driving through brush, and then you just kind of you're through it, kind of like that Homer Simpson meme where he backs in, but this would be me coming out of that. And so I did it once, and it was a whole lot of fun. I'm like, I'm doing that again. So I circle back around, and I'm just to the swampy stuff, and I just pop out again, and I'm just having a really good time. And I swing around to do it a third time, and the third time I must not have been in the exact same tracks that I was in the first 2 times, because my front passenger tire hit a culvert head on, not sideways that you like climb over, but like the mouth of the culvert. And this truck has 46-inch tall tires, which are about the same as the ones on Andy's rig. And it just stopped me dead because it's a pretty big culvert. And I'm like, oh, no problem, I'll back up. Well, it was a problem, because apparently momentum was what was carrying me through this swamp, and I was just absolutely dead in the literal water. So I walked myself home the 1/4 mile to my house. Not a big deal. Left the truck there. Nobody's going to steal it. And I brought my Nissan Frontier over there, and I've got my Warn Xeon 10S, and backed it up to a reasonable area and hooked it up to the back of that truck. And it literally pulled the Nissan forward. So I was like, okay, we're going to do a double line pull on it. I get the snatch block out, and it is still pulling my truck forward. So I call up a buddy who's got this military Humvee, and he comes over. It takes him about an hour to get to my house. And while I'm waiting for him, I'm shooting video, because it's super cool. I do a podcast, and you're getting some content by filming this stuck truck. And I got the drone out shooting video too. And literally had to connect his truck to my truck with something, and then connect his truck to a tree behind him, so that we could double line pull the LMTV. And he drove the LMTV, or idled it, trying to get the tire spinning, while I winched it backwards, and we ended up getting it out, and it was able to drive itself out the rest of the way. But that LMTV was a lot of fun. LMTV was a lot of fun, but it also loved to get stuck. I've got several more stuck LMTV stories I could tell another time in the future.
You know, I really would like to hear the one story of well, where is it? I got a picture of it. Did you do nope, there it is. Right there.
Oh, well, so this is we were building in the addition to our house, and this is a whole bunch of dirt that got piled out in the back 40. And I'm like, well, I'm just gonna drive up and over it. And I drove up and over it once again a couple times, and I think this was the third or fourth time that I was goofing around, and I didn't carry enough momentum to slide up and over it. So I self-recovered myself with this one. I just, rather than using the winch to pull myself off, I'm like, I'll just pull it. And it, you can't totally tell in this picture, but I hooked up the Bubba rope between the two, the LMTV and my Nissan in this picture. So for those listening, this is, my truck is high centered on a mound of dirt that's 5 feet tall. I like absolutely turtled on this mound of dirt. But it was uphill, so I didn't call and ask anybody to help me recover my truck. I just put it in neutral, hooked it up to the back of the LMTV, and drug it off of that. And it thankfully didn't like come careening down and smash in the back of the LMTV, because it was a little bit uphill, so had some gravity.
This could be a scene out of Mud Runner, the video game Mud Runner. Like, it's just, you know,
Oh,
back
yeah,
a
that's
huge
true.
truck up to pull out the, you know, other truck out of a car, out of a ditch or something. Anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Ben, you got a quick one?
I got lots of quick ones. Do you guys got one you want to hear?
You're gonna have to pick because there's too many for us to even imagine choosing.
All right. How about one where I'm not stuck and I'm doing the recovery? We can talk about the
That
one
sounds good.
right behind me here. So I'm part of Warren in Washington. It's spelled WORN. It's a Washington Off-Road Recovery Group. And there was a call out for a guy stuck up in Greenwater, not far away. I'm like, oh, it can't be that bad. I see the pictures, and this is the first picture I saw. Oh, that doesn't look that bad. He's just a little bit off. Then we get there, and he's that much off, or better yet, that much off. So, you know,
That's quite off.
yeah, that's quite off the road. So we rolled up. There was 4 of us that responded, which was a little more than we needed, but it worked out okay because the guy behind me, I believe we just used my winch to pull him back. But the guy who's behind me hooked up his strap because I was getting dragged a little bit because his Jeep was a little loaded up. And then we used another winch line to help stabilize it to make sure it didn't try and roll. Or no, we snatch blocked off of him. There we go. Just to get that good angle. But yeah, it was just a little afternoon run, not far away from my house, and it was fun. Ended up being friends with the guy and his wife, well, then girlfriend, because you know, as the story goes, you know, we end up getting really stuck with them and getting married. So yeah,
There you go.
yeah, they
You get stuck with them. You get stuck with them. That's what
Yeah.
I'm hearing.
That's what I'm hearing.
once you're stuck with them, you're really stuck with them. So yeah, they're locals, and I talk to them every now and then. So made friends and had fun recovering a Jeep with a Toyota. Because you know, Toyotas, no, as you've noticed in these stories, no Toyotas were stuck, right? Or wait, you had a little Toyota mini truck, right, Coy?
Yeah, I did, but I got out by myself.
By
With a
yourself.
shovel.
With a shovel.
It was only momentarily stuck
There you go.
with my traction.
So yeah, Sarah did a message some more about her story. After trying and failing, some fellow Jeepers came to the rescue and helped guided her back and getting her unstuck. Hadn't been back since, but plan on going after she gets a lift and a winch and some gear. And it was dark. That never makes it fun when it's dark. Should I roll?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, let's roll those dice. So just so everybody knows, Ben has a 12-sided dice. We have 11 entries, not including our own. Andy, you cannot win your own stuff. Hi, so rude.
Serious.
You're like, he's like, I'm out. Click.
So if I roll a 12, we will re-roll.
If we roll a 12, Andy wins, but then we'll re-roll.
well,
All right, I'm
Say
gonna
we
go.
will probably keep it.
I'm gonna go AMSR style here, and you'll hear it click, clickety clack.
Oh, that was fun.
All right, I rolled. What? That's not a 1. That's a 10 because
That's a 10. All right, I'm going to scroll up. 10 was... Oh, sweet. So this was the one I read. This is Sam. And Sam was running a Nissan. Awesome that a fellow Nissan enthusiast won. Congratulations, Sam.
So how many of them were Nissans? I heard quite a few Nissans, a Kia, a few Jeeps. What was it? How many Nissans? Apparently, all you weirdos listen to this podcast, all 3 of you. Or I'm sorry, 4. Aaron's one of those weirdos. Well, actually,
There was around 3 or 4
5.
Jeeps.
Yep. Well, technically 5 because Eric's now a Nissan owner. He's weird like that. Yeah, we're collecting Nissan owners.
Well, now that we would announce the winner, I'm waiting to see the chat. Just everybody logging out.
All right. Well, thank you everybody who listens to us. Oh, wait, hang on a second. Next week, we're going to try to start doing this. Next week is our Klein Buttes trip report. So we're going to try to remember at the end of each show to mention the upcoming show. So back to this part. Thanks everybody who's listening out there, who's tuned in. We appreciate you guys. We love the comments. Sarah, I'm glad you jumped in here and gave us a little more clarity on what went down with your stuck situation. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for sharing us with your friends and helping us grow. And God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren Medical Gear Outfitters and Colby Valve to see all their great gear. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a comment or question? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.net or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe, and courteous. Thanks for listening.
So real quick, if you aren't a part of our Off-Road Podcast Pavement Haters Club on Facebook, find that group and join it, because one of my friends, longtime friend, posted a meme today. It says, please don't ride with me if you're going to grab the dash or scream every time we run off the road. It makes me nervous. And of course, my wife had to chime in, and she wrote, what if I have to be in the truck for some reason, like we're married to him or something like that? And then she tags me in the post and says, LOL. So
I saw that, so I gave her a 3-day ban. Just I summoned the mighty ban hammer.